Hey, you are along for the ride with the Mad Dog and Cole. I got you, bruh. Farrell.
Walls like to eat race cars.
I decided to fly through the air and live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as I could, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait.
Oh, man. Thank you for those inspiring words, Mr. Knievel. Just living in the sunlight, flying through the air, living your life. We don't all have to fly motorcycles through the air to live in the sunlight and enjoy it. We all should, for sure. Thank you to our partners, Kicker Performance Audio at kicker.com, for all your automotive, off road, marine, and personal audio needs. Check them out. Get living loud at kicker.com. Of course, Bomber Floating Eyewear, bombereyewear.com. Check out, they have so many styles, so many lens choices, everything from a pink mirrored lens to a dark smoke safety lens that's actually ANSI 87 and OSHA approved and polarized. And the glasses float. Novel idea. Tommy and the gang's got you covered. Check them out. Bombereyewear.com. Of course, the Premix podcast, our man Cole, getting all your desert photo and media needs. Check them out on Instagram at the Premix Podcast. And Kelsey Morel Film. Find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morel Film. Covering all our YouTube edits and getting us up and live on YouTube. We're very grateful for that. So, man, let's just. Sorry, I just got distracted. There's like a 737 flying past the building.
Not even metaphorically, it's actually happening.
Yeah, like for reals. If I could turn the camera around without worrying about screwing it up, yeah, I can. Like, I'm in a corner room, so I got windows on both sides, and literally it just like flew right at me and flew right past that window. So,
Yeah, speaking of, where in the world are you?
you are along for the ride in beautiful Reno, Nevada.
Biggest little city in the world.
Yeah, we are up here for some AMA Arenacross Championships presented by Kicker Performance Audio. Um, man, I'm staying at the Nugget. I thank them for their hospitality. They've actually cleaned the place up quite a bit in the last few years. Um, Nice, comfortable room. And I was blessed enough to have the girl that checked me in be really nice and put me way up high in a corner room. So, not so bad. Um, Dude, speaking of AMA Arena Cross Championships presented by Kicker, Guthrie last weekend. Holy cow, Guthrie 2. So, Guthrie 1, we all know, we all heard it. The track was gnarly. It was like Supercross track. There was a few injuries, a lot of splats, a lot of I wish I wouldn't have done that. Uh, so they changed the track up, and I think it was every bit as Supercrossy, but they were trying to make it a little faster, um, which they accomplished very well. They got, I think Guthrie 1 fast time was 58.5. Just in comparison, fast time at Prescott Valley was 23.8, I think. So Guthrie 2 last weekend, man, they were 55, mid 55s, 55.4, 55.5. So pretty racy track. I mean, when realistically, when you're knocking, almost 6 seconds off a lap, it's pretty in the same amount of real estate. It's a pretty racy track. So, Yeah, and man, talking about along for the ride, I wish you were all with me on that trip because the day before I was to fly out, I had a straight through flight to Tulsa booked. The day before I was to fly out, I got a notification my flight was canceled.
I'm having some deja vu here.
Right? Yeah. At least it was the day before this time. Um, and they go, oh, go here and choose the flight you want. And unfortunately, there was no direct flights. There was only shitty flights through shitty Denver or shitty uh, Dallas. And I'm like, oh man. So I ended up taking the Denver flight, but it was way early in the morning. So I actually had to leave my house at like 4:30 in the morning to get to the airport. Um, and I think I arrived in Tulsa at four, roughly 4:30 Tulsa time. Um, and then still had to drive to Stillwater, of course. And yeah, so got to see my good friends at the Home Two Suite Stillwater. Jerica and her group are just awesome, awesome people. Um, it's so cool. I've stayed there so much they remember my name. Yeah, it's super rad. So
Yeah, it's a
stayed
creature
there.
comfort, I would say.
Yeah, for sure, man. They know when they see me come in to check in, they get a few extra coffee packets out. And
It's the little things that add up, when you're that far from home.
yeah, it really makes a difference. It really does help kind of just break things up. So yeah, man. Went out and set up. I had a couple of meetings there at Kicker in Stillwater, Oklahoma, Thursday morning, and then got out to the track. And I had left the bones of the stuff set up. The canopy and the tables. I put everything away and locked all the product and everything away and locked it up in the shipping crate. Um, so so yeah, I got set up and it was a good night. We had a good time. There's a lot of Kicker employees there. For the first time ever, I went up into the restaurant in the VIP seating at the Lazy E Arena. I've never been in there in 6 years. And the AMA Arenacross Championship presented by Kicker Team even had our own kicker table uh, with Mad Dog reserved on it. So that was kind of rad. Uh,
Nice.
I of course didn't get to use it because hello, I'm working, but hopefully my boss got to use it and he brought his kid out and her friend. And so yeah, man, super rad, great racing. Kyle Peters did what Kyle Peters does. Remember how he said Guthrie won? How I thought he was just kind of like, you know,
Had some stuff left on the table, possibly.
yeah, it was like, I'm not going to fight with Hicks. I'm not going to put it all on the line. And so he went out and just does what he does. And Kyle Bitterman had a pretty good night. My buddy Carlos Taco Short, the Flying Taco, had a kind of tough night. Didn't make it through the LCQ, I don't think. Um, but I was so busy, man. It's hard to watch any racing. Um, and it's compressed. I mean, Robbie and his team with AMA Arenacross Championships. Man, with this live TV deal with Mav TV, that's Fridays at 7:30, whatever time zone we're on. So this week it'll be 7:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Central time. Um, but with the live coverage, man, they do a good job with the schedule. It's nonstop action and racing was fast. Track was good. Man, just got her done and got packed up that night and and have breakfast with Jeremy in the morning and his family, which is always really special, at the legendary Granny's Restaurant in Stillwater, downtown Stillwater, Oklahoma. Cool restaurant, been around since I don't even know how long, um, but super cool. And man, just hopped a flight home, So then it was home for a few days, and we are lucky to have Destry Abbott, fill that midweek gap for us. And dude, that was so great. And how crazy was it that I lost my hotel Wi-Fi like 3 minutes after he signed off?
Yeah, a little behind the scenes there. That was insane how perfectly the Wi-Fi cut out,
Yeah,
because we didn't lose anything from Destry, and had we hit record 3 minutes later, we would have lost it. And yeah, nuts.
yeah. I was just like, wow, that was crazy. So yeah, no, that's all part of being along for the ride, though, man. The road tripping, the broadcasting from hotel rooms, and just being out there. I mean, you never know. So, um, but yeah, we're here in Reno this week. They're getting the track built. They're still working on it a little bit. Um, when I left, they got a lot of watering to do because again, Reno's it's at the Reno Sparks Livestock Event Center, and it again is like a rodeo arena, so they use the dirt floor. Um, but being out here on the West Coast, as you know, it has a lot more sand in it,
Yep.
and so it was the dirt was real dry anyways. Um, so they've got a lot of watering to do, but there's some really cool surprises coming up for the riders. One, I know I was involved in or standing there. I wasn't involved between track builder uh, VMAC tracks and Robbie, and the whoops are going to be gnarly.
Nice.
That was like the request. I want the whoops to be gnarly.
Yeah, you don't want to
So,
see anybody get hurt, but you want to see some challenging whoops, no
yep,
doubt. Yep.
yep, absolutely. And then they brought in on top of the arena dirt, they brought in I don't even know how many truckloads of sand. And so one end of the track is basically um you go through like a dragon's back, and then you make like a 180, a long 180 left-hander to the small rhythm before the finish. And that whole corner is probably almost 2 foot deep sand.
That's rad. Yeah, I got to give the applause to the Arenacross crew for doing that. Um, all honesty, dirt is extremely expensive, and it's one of the most expensive things about holding any kind of indoor off-road race. And their big brother, Supercross, usually gets a lot of flack for not having enough dirt, and they can't build the berms up, and they can't get very creative with it. So the fact that Arenacross is investing in the entertainment and the excitement, and hopefully a little bit of the rider enjoyment, applause to you.
Yeah, they're and I think their focus. This new owners group has a definite focus on the riders and on the entertainment factor. And um, you know, I wouldn't say they're coming after Supercross, um, but they're certainly setting themselves aside from everyone else trying to do some sort of arena cross. Uh, as far as tracks, live TV coverage. I mean, they own Friday night, you
Yeah,
know. So, um, and it's their first year, so I can only think there's a lot more to come, and a lot of growth to be had there, and yeah, man, it's just nuts. It's going to be a good track. There wasn't a lot of pros there yet. I wrapped up this afternoon, late afternoon, mid afternoon, and I guess about late afternoon, and and got back here so I could kind of get settled and get things figured out, find out a good spot to set the camera up and get this show uh, in the books for our people. That being said, my flight here went pretty much flawless, although it was a little late start. Um, but I had an afternoon flight, so I kind of expected it. Vegas anytime afternoon, you never know. So
Yeah, anything right now, if it's not the first flight of the day, you got to expect the unexpected, unfortunately.
yeah, for sure. And fortunately, it's not a very long flight from Vegas to Reno, and
It's a long race.
yes, it
Sorry, I had to
is.
throw that in there.
I've actually done it, and won it,
Yes, sir.
and lost it with 4.8 miles to go. So, or
In the same day.
4.4 in the same day, in the same race, all within basically 8 minutes.
The highest of
So,
highs and the lowest of lows.
yeah, but let's say 10 minutes. Well, it was probably more than that until we found out the car wasn't repairable. But yeah, man, and that was, I'm so blessed to be able to have done that. Had that experience and done that race and been a small part, of that team. And shout out to, the general, Mr. Butts, and of course, the Romos, Randy and Sierra and their family, great racing family, for allowing me to step in and help out with that program. And of course, Toyo Tires Japan, Polaris Razor, uh, Tomonori Noda, and Akira Miura. And of course, uh, the big Swede,
Nick Grunland.
Nick Grunland. Yeah, we got to get him on here one of these days.
Yeah,
So,
he's awesome. He's another onion. There's more layers than you would think at the surface.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You should be keeping a list of all these people that I bring up that I say we got to get on here because I forget.
Yeah, you know what I should do with Nick too is I'll call my grandma and I'll brush up on my Swedish, and then I'll try to do a second interview in only Swedish, and we'll see how that goes.
Oh, that'd be rad, dude.
Yeah,
That'd be sick. I would just sit there like I might as well unplug my mic.
me too, to be honest. But yeah,
Nice.
you got a lot of history in Reno. More to come, but I don't know. It's an exciting town to be in.
Yeah, yeah. For I don't know. It's not my favorite town. Um, I don't get around to downtown or the little baby strip or anything like that. Um, I went down there, was that last year, I think, to meet a friend for dinner. And I was like, oh man, I hate this. But anyways, yeah, kind of out here, I guess we're kind of more in Sparks, which to me it's all the same. I don't know what defines
I
it.
yeah, I sorry, to me it's all the same.
If you know what defines it, hit us up on Instagram, DM us and tell me what defines the difference between Reno and Sparks. Um, so yeah. Uh, so other than that, man, yeah, we're just cruising along. We've got this one. Um, I did fly here, and I'm sure haters gonna hate. And I know you had asked uh, before we started recording, and the reason I did not drive the old grinder in the trailer, one is the threat of bad weather. The old grinder is two-wheel drive. It is a two-wheel drive crew cab long box dually. So anybody who has any experience with those will know that they can get stuck in wet grass. Um, and then the trailer, I didn't want to have to go through bad weather towing the trailer. I didn't want to get out and put chains on. Um, so that's part of it. The other reasoning is I'm actually uh, event back to backing.
Oh, okay.
So there's an event that starts tomorrow in Las Vegas at the Paris Convention Center called Knowledge Fest, and it is a 12-volt audio um, training and display seminar. There's seminars, there's training classes for dealers, distributors, and whatnot. Kicker is a big sponsor of the Knowledge Fest. If you remember, I don't know if I talked about it, but I did go to one last year in Orlando, Florida, where I held the Fiat 500 with the quad box. If you
Yeah,
don't
we
know
didn't
what,
talk about it on here, but yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm actually going back early Saturday morning. I'm flying back to Vegas and working Saturday afternoon with the kicker team for Knowledge Fest, and then also Sunday, and then also packing up Sunday. So next week will be a short week for me because I won't get home till Monday, and I will be back out Wednesday to Denver for AMA Arenacross Championships presented by Kicker Performance Audio, Denver.
Wow. You're doing the Reno to Vegas this time,
Yeah,
and then you get to lay in your own bed for a whole day and then back at it.
yeah, I'll get 2 nights.
Yeah, but
So
that just
that's
sounded more dramatic the way I said it.
yeah, I know. I should just let you do your thing. You're, you're better at this than I am. You should be the host.
Oh, stop
Um,
it.
so
Oh, what
yeah,
uh, what
man.
ki- what kind of rental car did you get this time?
Oh, yeah. So I'm a budget fast break or fast track or something like that customer. Um, and I just booked the cheapest like compact car, uh, which was they call Kia Soul or similar. Um, so I got into the airport, got my bag, went and waited in the line at budget, got up to the counter. The lady's like, "Oh, you're a fast break customer. I'm really sorry you didn't have to wait in the line. They have a special line for fast break, but I didn't know if I don't know if that's what it's called. I think so. Um, anyways, they have a special like a VIP line, and I didn't know really that that was my status.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, it's no big deal, anyways. She's like, well, it's a big deal to us. And she goes, okay, so I got all your paperwork because with whatever elite membership or whatever you have, like everything's already done when you get there. All
Nice.
you have
That's
to
a
do is
nice
show your
incentive.
ID, run your card. You don't even have to sign
And
anything.
then you just get the heck out of there.
Yeah, yeah. So she's like, I see you had a Kia Soul or similar. I'm like, yeah. She goes, the only thing I have right now available is a Toyota Tacoma.
Toyota Tacoma, which is not a Kia Soul.
Yeah, yeah, which, I'm like, okay, whatever. I just thought it was funny because everyone else ahead of me that was renting a car, they told they didn't have any clean cars and they were going to have to wait 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes because they were cleaning cars and they would have to wait. And then I'm there and they're like, oh, yeah, here's your car.
Bye.
Yeah, see ya. Um, so yeah, I was actually kind of stoked to get this Toyota. I'm like, I've never driven one, Tacoma, so we'll see. And man, it must have like 850 cc like 3-cylinder or something like a Geometra motor or something because it won't hardly get out of its own way.
Oh, is it a four-wheel drive version?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So that doesn't help either.
No, no, it's pretty much a slug. Um, although it seems to get good mileage. So, but I'm only driving like 3 miles from the,
Yeah, so then it's fine to give up the economy in this situation
yeah, it's
for
like no
something
big
that a
deal.
racer might give you a little bit more respect than a V6 all-wheel drive Challenger
Yes.
in
In a snowy climate.
a snowy
So
climate.
it was beautiful here today, like 40, I don't know, probably 44.
Nice.
So yeah, it's supposed to be 18 tonight.
Well, luckily you're inside tonight.
Yeah, that's not enough degrees, as Cole would say.
It's not a hey, someone remember, it's not enough degrees.
Yes, yeah. Got to turn that dial up. Rich and that need a little bit. Um, so yeah, and here we are. So we're at our 25th episode. Um,
Quarter of 100, as you say.
yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna go into a little something 25th episode special. Um, right after we get your report from D38. Uh, which race was it?
Yeah, so this one was called something. I don't remember. It was like I think it was the Sandblast Herrenhound. I think that sounds right. I don't, sorry, District 38. I don't know enough of your clubs to remember the names yet, but we'll get there by the award ceremony. Yeah, so we started out. Jake and I were both at Supercross separately, but both there. So it was going to be a long night and an early morning for both of us. So basically, we both got home around 11 and got on the road at 3 in the morning. So that's just going to be a consistent thing this year, just how far Superstition, Plaster City, and the Imperial Valley is for us. Unless we're camping out the night before, we're pretty much going to be leaving at 3 in the morning all year. So,
Man, that's dedication, dude.
it's just like it's so much easier when the alarm's going off for a race day than it is if it was to go off 7 hours later for a work day, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you basically just spring out of bed and I already have my clothes ready to go and everything. But yeah, it was kind of a crazy drive. And what's weird, but it's just unfortunately worth mentioning is every single one of Jake's races that I've gone to so far, and this is the fourth, there's been either rain, hail, or fog so bad you have to stop. It hasn't 4 consecutive races,
Wow.
and this was no different. So the fog was so bad going over the 8, and I had my KCs on with the ambers and everything, just whatever I could do. I mean, there got to a point where I had to hit the brakes, which is weird when you're on the highway by yourself because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure where the highway went. That happened twice on the way out there. But registration was a
Oh,
breeze.
man.
Yeah, it was. So we got there safe and sound. We got our spot in the pits, and I have to make fun of myself because I whipped the truck around to back up to where I found a good spot to pit, and I got stuck going forward. I'm like, oh, that was weird. So I put it in reverse. I barely touched the gas, and nope, I buried the truck. So we were in
No
the
way.
desert. Yeah, about 15 minutes before I got stuck. So luckily the boys jumped up, pushed the front bumper, and we got it unstuck because I'm like, hey man, we got to get my truck unburied before other people see what I did here, you know? And just to make fun of myself more, it was like there was Sprinter vans and box trucks and all sorts of stuff the rest of the day, and nobody else got stuck but me in the Ranger, which should be the only vehicle sitting on top of the sand.
Right.
So yeah, registration was a breeze. They allow them to do that bomb practice, which is the first, anywhere from mile to 2 miles. So he came over to the truck and he did, I think, 2 or 3 practice runs. And he said, it's rougher on the right side, but the payoff is better. So if I get a good start and can stay on top of the whoops, I can get in front of these guys. And then all the dust is going to the left. What do you think? And it's like, as honored as I am to be asked, I'm like, dude, you're the one on the bike. Like, I would be the guy stuck in the dust. It wouldn't even matter where I started anyway. So trust your instinct, just do what you feel. And I'm trying to keep him as calm as can be, which he already is naturally. But Jake had a fantastic start. He was probably the 5th person off of his line. And then by the end of the mile, we could see that he was taken off and he had clean air. And that was so exciting because it's like, man, he's got 40 miles to go until he pits, but talk about an exciting way to start,
Yeah.
So then it became a race because I had to get back to the pits, which is about 3 miles away in my truck. And it was like, well, I sure hope that I can get from the bomb to the pit faster than he can do this 40-mile loop on a WR250. So it's just the little things I freaked myself out about. But he came in and he was leading his class, and his handguard was completely like up. And I know there's listeners can't see my hand, but the handguard was hovering above his hand. So clearly he had fallen on the right side. But he was calm. We had a really fast pit. I mean, it was probably 35 seconds. Unfortunately, we didn't even think to time it or anything or have anybody to time us. But we got him fueled. He didn't need goggles. I with all my weight, tried to get that handguard as far down as I could in the little bit of time we had. But it was just a fast pit. And he said, unzip my jacket a little bit because I'm getting warm. And we got him out there. And it was so exciting because it's like, dude, he's
Nice.
leading. Like, he's so far in front of this line. This is awesome. And so a hare and hound format, you usually only pit once because you have a 40-mile loop and a 25-mile loop, and then you're done. So basically our job for the day was done after that. It was like high fives and smiles and just kicking it at that point. And so we're sitting there and we're having some adult beverages and just kind of waiting at this point, all we can do. And his brother gets a call and he goes, yeah, okay, yep. Hangs up the phone. He goes, well, Jake broke. He's somewhere between Tower 1 and Tower 2 off Sand Highway, and I have no idea where that is. I was like,
Oh no.
well, who called you? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I guess it was a course worker or something. But Jake gave the course worker my number, and I didn't want to believe it because it was like, no. I'm like, maybe it's a different Jake. Maybe it's, but then I'm like, how stupid could I be that it's another Jake that somehow magically got Jesse's phone number, right?
Right.
So that's when the gravity of the situation came in. And so we're asking sweepers, we go, hey, where's Tower 1? Where's Sand Highway out here? Where's Tower 2? And some guy goes, oh, you just basically go around this mountain and then go that way and then head, 6 miles this way, and he'll be somewhere around there. And his dad goes, okay, got it, and jumped in his Toyota Pre-Runner and was just gone. So what a bummer at that point, because we knew that we had to finish both loops to get scored, or it was
Right.
a DNF. Because his class, once again, only had to run one. But if you started the second one, you'd get a better score.
Right.
But you had to finish both. So that was just such a bummer. So Jake comes in, and for the gravity of the situation, we just kept saying, hey, you weren't hurt. That's what matters. Something in the bike broke, but you're okay. So what happened? And basically he was out in the dunes, which it's baby Glamis out there. It's the same valley. He was in a dune, and that was just the end of that clutch. That was just its time. So
Oh no.
he said that he kept shifting down gears and it would just wring its neck and go nowhere, wring its neck and go nowhere. And he had this adrenaline moment of, okay, well, if I just push it to the top of this dune, I'll figure it out. So he used all his energy, got the bike to the top of the dune, and then the bike's still broken. So so Jake got rescued, and I can't say it enough. We're just glad that he's safe. It really does suck to start the first round of hunting a championship with a DNF. There's probably some sort of lesson in there about humility and preparation and whatever else. So I have 2 quotes I need to read real quick about failure. This one stuck out to me, and it said, it's only when you risk failure that you discover things. When you play it safe, you're not expressing the utmost of your human experience. And I thought that one was applicable.
Agree.
And then there was a second one called, if you're not first, you're last, and that's Ricky Bobby. So I'm somewhere in between those 2 quotes.
That is not what I expected for the second quote. But yeah, that's the thing, man. I mean, this is you guys' first full-time season together, right?
Yep.
And so there's gonna be some learning and there's gonna be some bumps. Do you guys have throwaway races? Do you get a throwaway?
Once again, this is the first time with District 38, but I do believe that there's one drop round. So I think we already used it, but if there is one, we're happy to have it.
Yeah. Well, if you do, I mean, that's, you know, the thing isn't what happened, or obviously, yes, it is what failed, but it's not, the big picture is not that you failed that round. You're still looking at the championship, and you're still looking at how do we improve. Obviously, from last year, when your pit stops were agonizingly slow, and I probably would have like punched everyone.
Rightfully
Um,
so.
you guys made huge I mean, from 2 minutes to 35 seconds, pretty impressive improvement,
Yeah, and it was. I mean, that's Ryder, and that's just us. I don't know, being excited for the lead and everything. So yeah,
Sure. And as you're well, and the big thing is, as you guys work together and learn together, you're gonna, I mean, it's just gonna get better, right?
absolutely.
Um, so what'd you end up, clutch fail, or you
Yeah.
break
So
a
the
chain, or
yep. So oh, sorry. Yeah. So the clutch failed. So and it was just I mean, pressure plate was gone. The clutch plates were just glazed. So I don't know if there was a last minute oil change or something where he used a synthetic instead of a non-synthetic or whatever and glazed the plates. But yeah, I mean, it was full full detonation. So
so it's gonna be a new clutch
yep, new
before
clutch.
before
Yep.
every race now.
No, absolutely not.
What?
We
They're not
cannot
that
afford that.
expensive.
I
They're
mean,
cheap.
yeah, I mean, but it shouldn't need one for what he's doing, to be honest.
Is it worth a DNF?
No,
Okay.
I'm just, I
No,
mean,
I agree with you. It shouldn't need one. Um, I'm the kind of stuff I'm used to at the end of a race, like the clutch doesn't go back in.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And these arena cross guys, I see them doing clutches before, before the race weekend.
Yep.
Um, but in some cases, I see them changing. I think maybe one of the pros, I can't remember which one, at Guthrie one, changed clutches like before the mains.
Yeah. Yeah. Because those guys basically are fully on the throttle and they keep the front end down with the clutch, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, in a lot of the corners, the berm corners and stuff like that, it's all like sliding the clutch. You're coming in almost like trail braking with half the clutch,
right.
and then you're like, as you let the clutch out, and so you're just smoking the clutch almost every corner.
Yeah. And so, so being desert racing, obviously you're going to have to fan it a little through the rock gardens and things like that. But I
Right.
mean, for
Yeah.
guys like us, clutches last 6 years, and that's exactly what his was on. Was its sixth
Oh,
year, so it was just like, yeah, it was just time. And I can't say that I would have done anything different because until it goes, I'm going to run it. So
right.
no,
But you're racing, so
yeah,
there's that. But now you'll have a new one.
yep,
You know,
yep.
um, the it's not like that's something that he could change out in the field.
No, yeah, and
Um,
we had that thought too. I mean, shoot, so if we brought clutch plates with us and it
yeah,
had been fit and if it had signs of failure towards the pit, yeah, it would have sucked, but I could have done it. My fingers would have
sure,
been burning, but I could have
yeah,
done it. Um, but yeah, when he was out in the middle of no man's, it's not like you carry clutch plates with you and stuff. So
right,
yeah,
right. And you probably, how's the race series as far as outside support?
seems okay.
I mean,
He's
like if he broke down,
oh, as
if
far as
you
that
could
goes,
get
yeah.
out there and take clutch plates to him.
Yeah, now I mean, now you're allowed to do it. Where he was not easy to get to. So
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
and I just think it just kind of sucks because although it's a long race, at the same time, it's like if you have something like that happen, yes, some points beat no points, but it's like, well, anywhere near the top 100 is already gone. So,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood. So I got that. And yeah, man, it's just one of those things. Now it's part of the bike prep that you put
Yep.
on the list because, like, okay, well, that let me down. So we're going to check that every time. And if it doesn't look good, for sure, change it. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Preemptively. Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah.
just, so it's definitely a bummer, and got to take away the good that he's not hurt and that he's even more fired up than ever for next round. But I did tell him, I go, I don't have an immense amount of racing experience, but I go, it's gonna suck until the next checkered flag you find. You're not
Yep.
going to get over it this week. You're not going to get over it next week. It's
Nope.
not until next race. So
Yeah, it's kind of like it's strange too because I call it losing your mojo,
yeah,
you and we ran into the times like that, even I didn't really have too much of that when I was racing with El Toro Loco, but with when I raced with the old Fat Cat, um, there was times with his daughter, which you would expect out of a 16 or 17-year-old girl to have those moments. But Mike and I'd have those times, man, where they're just, it's like we you couldn't buy even a top 5 or a top 10,
right. Yep.
and it's like, man, we're doing everything right. Like, uh, it's just, and dumb stuff like running over, somebody blew a motor and we ran over like a rod and blew a tire,
Yeah,
you
you're
know
just yelling at the cloud like, when's my day going to come?
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's stuff like that. And um I mean, it's the old thing, if you didn't have bad luck, you wouldn't have any. Well, maybe to an extent, but sometimes just the mojo goes the other way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you and I are the same about you make a lot of your own luck.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you go in as prepared as you can. You're certainly not going to show up to the line with a disadvantage that you know about, but stuff happens. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's, the same old adage, man. That's why it's called racing, not winning.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that
You
makes me
know,
smile. That's funny.
I raced a lot more than I won
Yeah, that's
through my life,
yeah,
So, but yeah, man, it's well, that's great though that he was so fast, he was so sporty in the first lap. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah,
that's a big improvement. So
yeah. He's on fire right now, and talk about mojo. I mean, it's the fact he's still going so fast, and he just had a little tip over. Like, dude, he's just on fire right now. So hopefully this
that
wave lasts a while.
yeah, that's rad, man. Um, and I'm sure it will. Stuff happens, but if you can keep him mentally in that spot where he's on fire, dude, you're the 75% of the battle, is keeping the rider motivated, keeping the rider on point, or driver or whatever, and man, if you can keep him there, and it sounds like he's doing really well at it mentally, then holy cow, you know, just to slay that dragon, and it's going to feel darn good. When's the next race?
It's February 24th, whatever the Saturday is, or yeah, whatever that Saturday. It's end of
Nice.
February. Yep.
Nice. And where's that one?
That one will be at Plaster City, so it's a little bit more on the southeast side towards the 8. Sorry,
Gotcha.
southwest side. Yep. So a little less
Gotcha.
sandy, a little more bushy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like, um, he's gonna be jonesing to see that, checkered flag, like you said, and really, I think, it sounds like you did everything you could possibly do. Um, And, I know you're probably like, oh, well, maybe we should have only signed up for one lap.
Yeah, but yes, of course, I've had that. I had that thought
Yeah.
10,000 times back and forth on the way, but it's luckily I was still able to convince myself. I'm like, no, if we would have done one loop, one, the clutch wouldn't have broken until the next race, so that would just be delaying the suck. So that's
Correct.
a good thing. But two, uh, anybody who did two loops when he did one, I'd have been just so mad at myself.
Right. They all would have finished ahead of him. So, yeah. And it would suck to come in beating up on the competition in the first lap
And just say, I'm done.
and go, okay, I'm done,
Here's my
and
scorecard.
have some paper plate, you know, struggle bus through the second lap on a XR 500 or something and beat you.
Yep, with their visor all the way on their chin guard and
Yeah.
gooning out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no, it's
Some
we're
squid coming through, and taking you down. It's like that would suck.
and
I
sometimes
would,
that's all it is. It's
yeah.
a desert racing's about attrition and moving
Ab-
forward. So
yep, absolutely. Absolutely it is for sure, and there's there's a guy that on the Vegas to Reno that I raced. There's a guy that ran the whole race uh, on a three wheeler.
yeah, the three wheeler killer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't remember if it was a 250R or 350X.
I think
Um,
it was a 350X.
I think so too, but I
Yeah,
couldn't remember.
which
But
probably would be a more comfortable ride for going that far.
yeah, man, but still,
Yeah.
right? So you're like, holy cow, and it took him forever, but he beat one of my race cars.
Yep. So what can you say? And he's on a three wheeler.
Yeah, yeah, a 200 horse Polaris Razor Turbo got beat by a 1986 Honda 350X.
Basically a farm vehicle.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a 350X
Oh,
actually.
you did?
Yeah, yeah. I had one. I bought it right after I moved to Bend, Oregon. Um, and man, it was a decent bike. It was in good shape. But I decided, it needed a little more, so I did a little bit of work to it. Bump compression up a little bit, cams, and it wasn't necessarily the smartest thing that I've ever done on a three wheeler because it was a bitch to kickstart.
Oh, really? Yeah. After that, it was just finicky.
Yeah, it would start, but you literally had to jump. Like I have a friend that used to start it from standing on uh, left foot on, because remember those kick forward.
Yeah. Huh. Yep.
So left foot on the grab bar and right foot on the
Okay.
Kickstarter. So he's a little skinnier than I was,
Jeez.
literally
Yeah.
jumping at it,
And
right?
hope it doesn't jump back at you.
Yeah, and hope it doesn't kick back, man. And that happened a couple times. I had it kick back once and dent my old riding boots
Oh,
that
no.
had a metal shim plate,
Yep.
and it dented the metal shim plate. Um, and it had a twist throttle, and I had a really hard time trying to decide if I wanted to go back to a thumb throttle or a twist throttle. Um, and I had gotten all the parts. I decided I was going to go to a thumb throttle, gotten all the parts, but we had this weekend coming up or a day trip to Christmas Valley Sand Dunes in the center of Oregon. It's an inland sand dunes, 11,000 acres. Dude, it's all this like kind of like pumice alkali sand, super fine, really well known for its gnarly blowovers and razorbacks and stuff. And we were out there riding around. I was having a great time. Um, and it's weird because it's kind of like St. Anthony's where it has those blowouts in between the dunes. and there had been some water and it had dried up. Of course, it's out in the desert.
Right.
And so those areas were pretty hard. Um, and yeah, that thing, I got it. I was doing these big monster dune slides, just blowing roost off the caps of the dunes with this thing. And I got it all the way sliding, like hardcore. I'm full lock right, sliding up this dune. So I'm completely, the front wheel is turned as far as it'll go right, and the back tires are blowing sand up the dune, very close to the top. And I got about three-quarters of the way through it, and realized that my wrist was locked.
Oh, what a nightmare.
With the twist throttle, I was wrist locked on the fuel tank
Lovely.
in third gear.
Yeah, so you're in for it. You're in for it on that one. You're along for
Yeah,
the ride.
you are along for the ride. Yeah, for sure, man. So fortunately, nothing bad happened there. I did have a little issue later that day. Uh, yeah, man, I was ripping. I was screwing around, and all my friends went to this other dune, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go over there, and um, there were some side by side tracks that were like somebody had driven through when the hard pack was still soft, and so it was kind of like two tracks, and it was kind of this big S, like long, like snake. And so I was just, dude, I was having a blast, right? I had to, every corner I was off the bike, had the front tire in one groove and the back tires in the other groove. And I was coming into this corner. I was like pretty much on the pin in third gear. So I don't know, probably what, 40, 45 miles an hour, maybe. Um, Pitched it out, had the front tire in the left groove. It was a left hand corner. Front tire in the left groove, uh, back tires basically in the right groove, and I was hanging completely off the bike, and the front tire slid out. I kind of misread the corner, and the rut wasn't quite as deep at the entrance of the corner as I thought it was, and the front tire um, came out of the left rut and moved to the right rut, and the back of the bike moved up this natural berm on the corner that had a big chunk of desert cheatgrass on it, and I clipped it with the right rear and flipped it complete barrel roll in the air on the bike, and then landed and complete barrel rolled on the ground on the bike before I could get away. Like I got caught up hardcore on the bike,
Oh,
and finally got away. It pitched me off. When it rolled around on the ground, um, I thought for sure it was the craziest deal, dude. Because I thought for sure I broke my neck, right? Because I hear this, like just this, and actually, um, what it ended up, I didn't break my neck. Like I'm like, okay, that happened. I'm laying on the ground and I'm not moving. I'm like, okay, wiggy fingers, toes. Is there any blood on your arms? Maybe a little bit. Is your neck okay? Yeah, neck's fine. No zingers, no nothing. Okay. All right, get up, pick the bike up. Um, broke the clutch lever off, broke the brake lever off, bent the handlebars, and what the noise I heard was basically the bike grinding my helmet into the dirt.
whoa.
Um, yeah, and this had a custom grab bar on the back, not the stock rounded soft Honda one. It had a stainless, like squared off one, and it cut my back when it caught me probably third time over. It actually cut. I was wearing jeans instead of riding pants, and it literally cut my jeans like through the back and down through the welts. the stitching, those
Uh-huh.
big thick areas of stitching, cut through them like a pair of scissors, and of course cut my back. But um, I got up and let it sit for righted the bike and let it sit for a minute so the oil drained back down and assess the situation and rocked it into neutral and kick it, started right back up. I'm like, okay, that about that time, my buddies saw it happen from a higher dune further away and came ripping over and they're like, holy cow, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm fine. But my clutch levers broke, my brake levers broke. Um, and my bars are bent. So I'm going to go back to camp. They're like, okay, do we need to go with you? And I'm like, oh, nah, I'm fine. I
No
just,
clutch, no brake. We're fine.
yeah, no, I just start it in neutral, rev it up, and kick it first.
Yeah, hot shift.
Yeah, basically, that's what I did. I mean, I just fired it up, kicked her down into first, wound her up, kicked her into second. And I was like, okay, well, not too bad. The bent handlebars are throwing me off a little bit because it was the throttle side that was bent down too.
Yeah, so you're
So
riding all sideways now.
yeah. I'm like, whoa, this is kind of weird, but I made it back. Viking was there. We had our motorhome and a friend of mine's trailer, and Viking was there. I parked the bike and took the helmet off. I was like, man, went in. I think that was back still when I drank. So I chugged a beer and because I was starting to get a headache and stoked the campfire up and sat down, and had a smoke. And I'm like, man, yeah, that was gnarly. Holy cow. And I went and got it was a brand new Axo full composite Axo CX3. So it was carbon Kevlar fiberglass composite helmet, team green. Um, and I went and got it. I'm like, oh, I wonder how bad it really is. And man, the it had broken the visor on one side. Um, there was these big gouges right through to where you could see the matting on the left side, and I'm like, that's pretty bad. And um, didn't really think anything of it. I'm like, oh yeah, well that one's scrap. I guess time for a new one.
Yep.
So even though it was brand new and like $600, but it anyway, we loaded up, drove home, but I was like, I was having some real like vision problem, blurry vision and stuff. And turns out I had a pretty significant concussion. Um, and so I went to my doctor and I'm like, yeah, I kind of had this crash and kind of blurry vision and whatnot. And he's like, oh, he checked me over. Yeah, you got to like whatever level concussion. He goes, just rest for a couple days and, stay down. And so I went through all that crap. And then I was like, okay, well, I really need, we were getting ready to ride again. And I'm like, I went and bought new bars and all that, fixed the bike. And I'm like, man, I need to look at that helmet because I see if it's okay or if I really do have to spend the money. So I went and looked at it and I'm like, yeah, probably. Started looking at it close, and the entire chin bar was spider cracked.
Oh man, that's bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
like sorry, but I already knew that the helmet was trash just from the story.
yeah.
But wow, that's not many people break the chin bar like that.
Well, I can even one up that actually because um, I was like, oh man, that sucks so bad. Well, I guess it's a shelf trophy now, so I'm going to pull the liner out and wash it, and cheek pads and stuff. I might as
Yeah,
well wash it before I put it on the shelf,
yeah.
just so it doesn't like grow mushrooms or something. I pulled the liner out and the shell fell out.
Yeah, so it was completely separated from itself.
Yeah, the entire inner shell had separated all epoxy that they use. So
Dude, it's always the
apparently,
helm. It's always the cool helmets that you take big
yeah,
old slams in.
yeah. So
Yeah, like I have a custom painted Dale Earnhardt helmet outside. So not outside in the garage, and yeah, I hit a tractor with it. Of course,
yeah,
can't just live a nice life.
right. Yeah, I have some two HJC, I can't remember what models they are, the composite, um that I ended up destroying both of those not too long after destroying that Axo. Um, but yeah, short story long, bro. I ended up taking that three wheeler, get it all fixed, and we went out for a ride in the trails up in the hills. Which you may be wondering, like, why are you going to ride up like mountains on a three wheeler? Um, because I could,
The
you know.
brochure said you could.
Yeah, so I took off and we were riding. I was riding with a guy that was riding a ATK 406
Oh,
dirt
nice.
bike. Yeah, I did
Rare.
get to ride that. It's a great bike.
American.
Weird, really weird.
Everything's
Kickstarters on the.
backwards. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, guy that had that, and then another guy that was ironically, he was riding a Yamaha Raptor 660. Um, and so, anyways, we had it all covered, right? I had the Honda, I had the Raptor four wheel, and I had this old three wheeler. And we went up and we rode up to the radio tower, which, if you know anything about radio towers are put on really high, like basically the highest peaks around.
Yeah, the highest they can get to. Yep.
Yeah. So instead, we decided um, you had to kind of ride up this trail and up this rocky section. And there's like, I don't know, it's probably, it felt like 3 feet, but it was probably a foot, maybe a foot and a half rocky lip as you're getting up towards the top. And I managed to pop up over that, make my way over that. Wasn't great, um, but I did it. It was all really loose, like shale rock. Um, and we got up to got up to the road because we were shortcutting the road. The road goes around and around and around, right? And we got up to the road, and the guys were like, uh, they took off straight up the side of the hill to the top, and so I followed suit. And by the time I was up at the top, I was literally, my thighs were on the handlebars, trying to keep the front end down, um, on the limiter in second gear, because I was running flat track knobbies on it.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what you want to be doing with rock climbing.
yeah. So then we turn around, come back down, and we come down that first section. It wasn't too bad. Just I was getting kind of down towards the road. Um, I was tapping the rear brake, and I'm tapping the rear brake, and it feels like my rear brake pedal, like the rear brake's going away. And I'm like, it can't be hot. Like, I haven't hardly
Haven't
used it.
touched it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, tap it, tap it. And then I'm like, oh, that's really weird. Maybe it's just me, you know, maybe I'm just imagining things because it's like pretty steep downhill. So we get on this rocky section, and the first section's like really loose. And I got a little bit of front brake, and I go to step down on the back brake a little bit, and I'm got it in like second gear, and I'm feathering the clutch on and off and the twist throttle and working the front brake and step on the back brake, and the pedal just goes bloop, gone.
Gone. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and I'm committed. Like,
There's
I
no
have
turning back. Yeah, you're in
no,
it. Yeah.
no, there is absolutely zero way to turn that bike around. So I made it all the way down on the front brake, the clutch, and decompression, or compression, like first gear, second gear, and sitting back on the bar, tapping the front brake, trying not to slide the front wheel. I got all the way down to the bottom, made it. We rode around a bit more and got back to camp, our day camp, and it had blown the seals out of the master cylinder.
Oh yeah, so it just went kaput. Yeah.
Yeah, so it just dumped all the fluid and it was over, right? Um, so it was at that point that I decided that that bike was trying to kill me. And so I went back, bought a master cylinder rebuild kit, rebuilt the master cylinder, bled it out, cleaned everything up, put a big thick coat of SC1 on all the plastics and the bellows, front fork bellows and everything, made it look all pretty, uh, and put it up for sale. And the first guy that put it up for a reasonable price, but far from cheap. And the first guy that looked at it took it home with him cash. So I was like, sayonara.
Yeah, sold the trike and the curse.
Yeah, and at that point, and this is a whole nother story, but this is when I decided I was going to race quads and went and bought Z400, which is funny because the KFX 400 is the same bike, but even with my discount, I could buy the Z400 cheaper, the Suzuki cheaper than I could buy the Cowie. And I think it was because the Suzukis were just ugly colors. Like it
Yeah,
was
so you
just
get a deal on them.
white with a little purple, you know?
But hey, every dollar counts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I saved myself, a few $100, like almost $1,000. So,
Yeah, I mean, you should get another 350X for Havasu, so we'll talk about
yeah.
that later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, um, yeah, man. So, anyways, yeah, dude, that's like that Z400 story and all that. Whole nother story we'll get to some other time. I think we're about done for episode 25. My plan was to share a race story from when I was basically 25 years old, but I got carried away with the 350X story. So, maybe on episode 45, I'll share a race story from when I was 45.
All
But
right. But as long as you at some point tell that 25 story, I don't want it to
yeah,
go away.
yeah, we have to get to some of those at some point, But man, I'm just having so much fun, just covering what we're doing on here on the road and the stuff that you're doing. I'm so excited, um, and I'm super stoked that you guys are doing so well. Um, you're gonna have some attrition. That's just the way it is, especially with desert style racing. But how you deal with it and how you come back, is gonna be the big tell. And Jake, keep your chin up, man, and keep faith in your boy Cole because he way undersells himself. I would, if I was racing a bike right now, I would definitely want him as my bike chief. So,
Well, thank you. And Jake, I didn't tell him to say that. So take that for what it's worth.
yeah, no, and for sure. You've got some major assets in your corner there. So I think with that we should thank our partners and call it a night.
Sounds like a plan.
We are going to be living loud this weekend with Kicker Performance Audio. Check them out at kicker.com. This is their 50th anniversary. Same owner since 1973, founded the company. Here we are, 2023. Steve Irby still owns the company. Great guy, great company. Go to the website, kicker.com. Check out their anniversary edition gold subwoofers. It's a throwback to the old days. Pretty impressive. They've even got some 50th anniversary sales going on there, I believe. Check them out. Kicker Performance Audio, kicker.com. Bomber Eyewear, Bomber Floating Eyewear at bombereyewear.com. Man, I've got these boogie bombs that I just absolutely love. but they make so many styles. They make a style, aviator style called the Strange, that Viking has in a blue mirrored lens. Dude, she just loves them. I think they're blue mirrored polarized. Um, these I wear because, being at the racetracks and stuff, man, they are ANSI 87 OSHA approved safety lenses on top of being polarized, and dark smoke, and damn stylish.
I was going to
Um,
say, most importantly, they look cool.
yeah, yeah, because hashtag white wraps matter. Check them out. Bomber Floating Eyewear at bombereyewear.com, at the Premix Podcast on Instagram. Find them. The at symbol, ThePremixPodcast. That's our man Cole at the Premix Podcast for all your desert racing media needs. Pictures, drop him a DM over there. If you're going to a desert race, tell him your number. Maybe he can help you get some good coverage. And,
Absolutely.
yeah, and of course at Kelsey Morrell Film. And find her on Instagram at Kelsey Morrell Film. Uh, does a great job. She's done some big stuff for some big companies. Um, I think most recently she just got done, besides doing our YouTube edits for us. I think she just got done producing a commercial for Portland Spirit Cruise Lines.
It's a big get.
Yeah, yeah, and McMenamin's pub or something like that. So big time. If you need video work, you need video editing, anything like that, man, find her up, drop a DM on Instagram at Kelsey Morrell Film. Other than that, we are going to have the AMA Arenacross Championships presented by Kicker Audio tomorrow, Friday, in Reno, live on Mav TV. And then I think Cole's going to Hammers.
That plan unfortunately got changed, but I would like to be out there.
Oh, bummer. Sorry to hear that. And then I'm off to K Fest Knowledge Fest Vegas with Team Kicker. Really looking forward to that. And back home for a bit, and then off to the AMA Arenacross Championship Series presented by Kicker in Denver. And that should be a good race. So, all that being said, man, thank you to everyone. I was looking at the numbers for the first day from Destry Abbott, from the Destry Abbott episode. And man, what a great first day set of numbers.
And awesome feedback on all the social media. So thank you for commenting.
Yes, greatly appreciated. And hopefully we'll get Destry on again. I saw our boy Wes Kane tonight, this afternoon, and he asked how you were doing, but asked how the podcast was doing, and was like, can't wait to get back on and do some bench racing. So I'm
Sweet.
excited for that. But at this point, goodbyes are hard, but I am the Mad Dog, and I am out.